Gable Steveson. What is going to happen? I am so curious with this young man. And the thing he kayfabes the most, and I'm not an exception to it, the thing he kayfabes the most is what he's going to do next. There is nobody that he lets in on that. And perhaps because he doesn't know. Truly. There's a lot of options there. I don't believe he believed, and this is for at a point in time, that he was ever going to wrestle again. He was in the NCAA tournament over the weekend. Says that he's a showman, calls himself an entertainer. I'm entertaining. I've heard him say that before. And I don't want to be mean to him. He started saying this when he was like 20 and 21 years old, right? I mean, this is a kid. This is a kid with a dream. I don't want to come as an adult and be rude to him. But no, he's not. He's not entertaining. He's not an entertainer. And that is no longer true. It was true when he started saying it. It is no longer true. When he comes on camera, there is something happening. That's a statement from Paul Heyman. It's from many years ago, didn't relate to Gable. Paul might have even paid me that compliment. But he said when you came on, he was flipping the channels and it was ESPN. He said, when you get I stopped. No idea what you're talking about or where you're going to go. You hadn't said a word yet. He said, because something was happening. And it's like that with Gable. I mean, Daniel Cormier popped like a little kid. And we didn't even know what Gable said. He just walked up to Wyatt. It was at the time that he walked up to Wyatt. We weren't 100% sure words were exchanged. I mean, it was this very interesting thing where there was Gable, there was a timing, something was happening. I mean, I'll argue for you that ratings boost, which officially goes as the third most watched match ever. And in all fairness, I don't know if in my lifetime they will catch Snyder Gwiz. I don't know if I would like to think they would. I'd like to think I'm going to be here another 40 years. And yes, that probably will be caught within 40 years. But there was so much going into Snyder Gwiz. And right this moment, it's like everything you might have forgot. You might have forgot what that was like. But that's not only number one. That's number one by a meaningful margin. But I will share with you, Gable came in number 3. Gable versus Wyatt came in number 3. And I will argue for you. And those are quick things, man. You know what a Nielsen ratings, do you know how they come up with this? If I explain this to you in 2 minutes, it would be 2 of the most confusing minutes of anything that's ever been explained. It's a very strange thing, but you got to get them at some point, right? You got to have the hook, and I would just argue for you, it was Gable being entertaining, Gable going over to Wyatt, exchanging words with the body language and posture that he did at the time that he did. Receiving the body language in return from Wyatt. It was a very interesting thing. So I will definitely not deny that Gable has reached the status that he set out for himself of being an entertainer. But a competitor, and if Gable was here, Gable would be the first one to tell you this. A competitor is something very different. And that is a fire that does not generally continue to get bigger. There's a flame that will start somewhere around 11 years old. Yeah, that could be 8 or 9, but you don't want it to be. Because again, you got a flame, and it only goes out like any other flame. So if you can push it a little, if you can get it to 13 or 14, you'd be really lucky. But generally, somewhere around 11 years old, there'll be some level of flame. Now that flame might not be very hot. I mean, it might be just enough to get you out for a seasonal sport through high school and never look back. But it might be a little bigger. where now high school's over, there's nowhere to do it, and you roll into coaching. You just want to be around it. And then there could be some that go to an elite, a college level. And then a tenth of a 10% that go on to the opportunities that Gable would have, something beyond college, NFL and WWE and MMA. And I would just imagine anything the son of a bitch wants to do. I just can't imagine a door being shut on him. But he is still a human being. There are rules that apply to human beings. Let me give you a great example. You come in as a young guy, you set the world on fire. You got an Olympic gold medal before you can legally walk into a bar. And you get known as the young guy. You come back to college and you got an Olympic gold medal, and you're one of only 2 athletes in the history of time that at that age of still a collegiate eligibility to have an Olympic gold medal. It's one of these things, and you get told that you're young for so long that when the time passes and you're not, sometimes you forget. Sometimes you don't realize, I'm not young anymore. And there are opportunities that go right here in MMA. If you walk into a gym, you do not walk in where you're just welcomed the way that you may think of sport. That you did as a child through the Pee-wees or the little leagues. It is not like that in an MMA situation or a boxing situation. It's not like that. You will come in, you will pay your dues. Biggest chance is that you get completely ignored. And I don't mean on your first day. I mean forever. That nobody ever grabs you. But then there is an elite where a coach will see something, and a coach is just kind of lingering about in the back, and he will go up and grab an athlete and give that athlete an opportunity to see what his skills are. Talk to him, get to know what his mindset is. But he's got one of the first things he's going to say to you is, how old are you? And it does not matter if you've got an Olympic championship or not. If you give a certain number, that will be the last time that you ever speak to that coach.
Hey, Chael, does he need to start training MMA today?
Yeah. So I'm getting asked by Ryan, hey, does Gable need to start training MMA today? And I believe if he's going to go into MMA, the answer is yes. And I'll share this with you. He spent some time in MMA. He even spent some time with Robbie Lawler as his coach. He spent some time with those guys that right now are called Kill. Spent some time in Jon Jones's camp. He was in Jon Jones's corner. Now that's not the kind of MMA he needs. He needs the kind of MMA where he is the pupil. Not where he comes in and he's the head wrestling coach or, he's the cool guy with an Olympic gold medal. He needs to come in, humble himself, which, by the way, would be very easy for him. He is very used to doing that. But there is a time frame where this has got to get started, and he's got to get the right coach to get around him. That coach is the one that's going to go to the manager. That manager is the one that's going to go to the promoter. If you do not follow that specific chain that I just let, you will never get into the octagon, and there is not an exception. Of the 756 guys, there is not an exception. Athlete got there through a manager who got contacted through a coach because they liked what they saw in the athlete that walked in that gym one day. That's how it goes. And that is a clock that is not against Gable right now, but the clock is ticking. And when I read an interview from Gable, and it mentions NFL and these other opportunities, it's very big to his managing team that the world know that it is the oyster of Gable, that he will choose and that he is the one person who can do anything that he wants. It's very important to them. I actually understand that, and I lean towards their way of thought. From a marketing standpoint, I lean towards their way of thought. From being a human being that will mark out for your own gimmick, who will read your own articles and then start to forget reality, it concerns me. From a marketing standpoint, I can go anything. I might be in the NFL next year. I might be in the UFC next year. I like it. As long as in his heart he knows he's got to pick one, and he's got to do it now. I don't mean next week. I mean right now. And that's just for a reasonable shot of success.